So today we are here with Legacy. So the last time we did a video, we were using a different horse. It was my Black Mare Mystery. So today we are working with her instead. Okay, so today we're basically just going to be doing some like recapping just because it has been so long. So think of it as like a refresher. We're just gonna get into it because I can't think of what to say. So the first thing that we're gonna do is, Courtney, I'm gonna have you come over here. Courtney's my camera person. Say hi, Courtney.
Hello.
So I'm gonna have you come over here and we're just going to pretend that you haven't worked on barrels a whole lot with your horse.
Yep.
So you're just going to go around and start, you might hear that a lot.
Yep, the dogs.
Lots of dogs. So you're just gonna pretend that you haven't really worked a lot on barrels and just kind of introduce them to them. So some horses, they're not fazed by it at all, but some horses are a little scared of the barrels. So I just want you to go around to each barrel and kind of just, make sure that they're aware of their surroundings, that nothing's spooking them or anything like that, because you're not going to get a good workout or a good lesson in if your horse is scared of everything.
Yep.
Hi, Boo-Boo. He fed him this morning. So I'm not really doing anything crazy, not any specific pattern or anything like that. We're just kind of making sure that she's aware of the barrels. Now, she's fully aware of the barrels. She is almost, I'd say 80% finished on the barrel pattern. So it's not like she really needs this, but this is always a good warm-up for your horse. That way they're not, for one, some horses can get hot-headed if they do. So if you start bringing them in here and you start working on the pattern right away, sometimes they just see the barrels up and then they start thinking, oh, today we're just doing barrels and that's all we're doing. So what I'll do when I start in the morning, when I start my ride, is I will tack her up, bring her in here, put all the barrels up, and then once the barrels are up, I will actually warm up my horse, do everything that I need to do for about 10 minutes, and we will then start working on the barrels. That way she doesn't associate barrels being up in the arena with being a hot-headed or being like, okay, the barrels are up, that means I'm doing barrels today. Okay, so Courtney actually had a really great question, and she was wondering if your horse has never really been around barrels much and you're starting to introduce them to them, if they get spooky with them at all, if it's a good idea to kind of knock the barrel around a little bit to make some noise just to see, how they would respond to it. So I'm going to kind of show you what I would do in that situation. Obviously, if your horse is really crazy, maybe do it on the ground first, introduce them to it on the ground. My horse is not that crazy, but what I would do is I would just get as close to it as I could and then maybe just knock it around a little bit and see if she would do anything. Now, she literally won't do anything because that's just how she is. But my other mare does get a little spooked when it comes to barrels. So the best thing that you can do, even you can knock it all the way over and then just see how they respond to it, just so you have an idea of what you're gonna be working with. Because let's say you did get a little too close to the barrel and they knocked it over and then it spooks the horse, it's probably best to start with this stuff first, just so you know that they're not going to kill you, I guess. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by just walking the pattern. Now that we've kind of introduced them to the barrels, we want them to start learning the pattern. We don't work on the pattern all the time, usually only until they learn the pattern. And then we basically do drills on how to turn barrels and how to do all that different stuff as well. So we're just gonna start by lifting her shoulder, and we're gonna make an arch to our first barrel, and then making sure that you have a pocket. So Courtney, I'm gonna have you come in the front here just so you can see. Okay, so the space between the barrel and the horse is your pocket. So usually when you're starting, you're gonna start out with a bigger pocket, just so they really have the idea. Because when you're first starting, horses usually aren't able to turn on a dime, and if they are, good for you, but most horses, they need to learn how to do a bigger circle, and then they start dialing it down into a smaller circle. So with her, we're just going to do her normal pocket because, like I said, she is almost finished. So she's about here, and I'm going to bend her nose, keeping her shoulder lifted, and we're just going to walk around. Now you can go to your left barrel first, or you can go to your right barrel first. If you go to your right barrel first, your left barrel first, you go to your right barrel and you turn right, and then you're gonna turn right again. Where if you go to your right barrel first, you're gonna go left and then left, if that makes sense. So I go to my left barrel first. All of my horses go to the left barrel first. That's just a personal preference. Usually you pick which side your horse turns best and you work on it, but in my opinion, if you're working your horse enough, you shouldn't be able to see the difference between the bad side and the good side. So you should make sure that they're equal on both sides. So I just always ran to the left first, so I just decided to train all my horses on the left. Obviously, if a horse came in and they only went to the right, then I would obviously run them to the right. So I'm just lifting her up, making sure we're doing it at a nice slow walk, because when you go, if you're going too fast, you're not really aiming for your accuracy. Right now we're really trying to be accurate instead of being fast. So that way she knows what she's doing. So also notice when I'm coming out of my barrels, I'm coming right out of the side of my barrel. Like I can just barely move my foot over and touch it. So you want to make sure that you are really close coming out of your barrel. And then going to your third barrel, you want to go dead straight to your third barrel. So when you're coming out of your second barrel, you want to make sure you're going straight to your third. And then once you're a couple strides before your third barrel, that's when you're going to start asking them to move over into their pocket. So you're going to start lifting them over. She wants to go way too far, so I'm just going to ask her to go back a little bit. So bending around. Now I didn't really like the way that she did that one, because she's very, very soft. So if you give her just a little too much, she will go way beyond what she needs. Now that we have walked the pattern and your horse is confident while walking the pattern, we're going to move up to a trot. And what we're going to do is, some people like this drill, some people don't like this drill. This is just something that I have done with my horses only because she was more a free runner, less turn, where she wasn't exactly trying to hunt the barrel to really make sure that she was turning it.
So when you say hunt the barrel, that's what you mean is how she's turning into it?
When she's like looking for it, like waiting for the
Had a fly on me, so.
So what we're going to do is we are going to do this one at a trot. I mean, you can do this at a walk too, but since your horse is confident at a walk, this is going to be the next step up. So we're going to do it at a trot. Trotting and walking are usually the first steps to starting your horse on the pattern. And then after your horse is like perfect at a trot, you can start asking them to lope. What we're going to do is we're going to trot up to our first barrel, and we're going to stop like a stride or two before it, probably not much more than a stride. So we're going to trot up to our barrel, making sure she's nice and rounded, and then right about here, we're going to stop, and we're going to back up 2 steps. And then once she's stopped, then you can praise her and tell her good job for stopping. She knows what she's doing. So then what we're going to do now is we're going to walk around the barrel. This is just helping them realize that like I have to be paying attention before I'm turning. And then coming out, as soon as you come out, you're going to pick them up in the trot. running into her barrel kind of being all wonky because you want them to be set up the best way possible in order for them to get around it. So now again, we're going to walk around it, really bending, keeping them nice and bent, and then outside leg, push them over, and then trotting out the barrel. Move this over into the pocket and stop. And then gonna go ahead and walk around it again. And then using your outside leg, push them off to close it off, and then you can trot home. We're going to trot it again. This is something that we do a lot until your horse is nice and confident with it. And also make sure that you're confident with it too. If this is something that you feel like you need to work on for 2 weeks before you are actually good enough at it and confident enough at it and your horse, then you're gonna need to work on it for 2 weeks. If this takes you 2 days, then that's great. But just make sure that you're not rushing things and you're not going past, one, your horse's ability, because your horse is only, learning this stuff and you don't want to confuse them too much. And giving them a bunch of stuff at one time and all this new information can get really confusing. And not to mention, in my opinion, a horse is only as good as their rider. So if you are not confident enough and you are not directing your horse well enough to the point where if your horse gets confused, they need to feel like they can rely on the rider to tell them what to do. So we're going to go ahead and trot it one more time. And stop. Now, also, another thing that I'd like to mention is when I'm doing this, notice how when I'm coming out of my barrels, I'm staying up in my saddle. This is a position that you need to walk, trot, canter, and run in. You need to be able to do this while steering, not holding onto your saddle horn. This is strictly balance, horse strength, and thigh muscle. You want to make sure that you are not the rider and you're not flopping around everywhere making it harder for your horse to work. The rider needs to be just as much in shape as your horse when you're doing this kind of stuff. So also, when I'm sitting, when I stop, I'm really exaggerating my sit because when we are turning our barrels, what we're going to end up doing when they're finished is we're going to drop our rein, our outside rein, and then we're going to push against our horn and sit. You don't have to use your horn. That's a personal preference for everybody, but I personally use my horn. Pushing against your horn to really sit in the saddle. So when we do stop, I'm making that sit very, very obvious for my horse. And then obviously when I'm running barrels and the horse progresses more and more, we're not gonna have to make it so obvious. We're not gonna throw ourselves back, but we wanna make sure that the horse can feel the difference in the seat. So again, we're going to bend them around. Right now we're sitting. And then right as we come out, we're gonna go up. And if you have to pull yourself up with your horn, then you do that too. And then again, when we're sitting, we're gonna exaggerate the sit. So she always comes out a little wonky into this barrel. So making sure, you're coming out, you're going up. When you're going in, you're sitting. So then we're going to walk around it. Right now we're sitting, 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 looking where we're going, and then trotting out. And stop. And then again, we're going to walk around. And trot out. Also make sure that you guys are praising your horses after the littlest effort that they do because it's going to help them build their confidence. Okay, so this time, now that my horse is nice and confident with that drill, we are going to move up a step and we're going to trot through the entire thing. So we're just going to trot, standing up, now we're sitting. Making sure to close off your barrels. That was kind of lazy on her part. See how she's kind of being weird going into this barrel? She keeps kicking her hip out, so I'm just going to push her hip back over and ask her to do it again. She gets very bendy, especially when she gets overly excited for these things. She's not perfect, she's excited, so I kind of have to remind her that we're not running the pattern. We are working on something for the pattern. So sometimes that happens. Okay, so I didn't really like how that one was. And that's one thing too, is you're gonna see a lot of screw ups. And those are really good that they're happening, because if your horse never messes up on something, you're not gonna know how to fix it if all of a sudden something does happen. So, and also, no horse is perfect. All horses have off days. Like I said, she already knows how to run a pattern, but is it perfect? Not perfect. She's probably like 80%. It's not like I can just close my eyes and she'll do it by herself. So when we are working on this kind of stuff, you're gonna see a lot of little problems pop up, and then as they pop up, we'll fix them as they come. So I always like to line up my horse nice and straight going into the pattern. I'm not one that likes to circle and circle and circle, because honestly, I don't see the point in it. But I also end up wanting my horses to run in straight and out straight. So for me, circling is not my thing. So we're gonna trot it again.
I can already tell that barrel looked better.
That was way better. So after something like that, where she does seem to do a lot better, you'll notice the differences that they have, and you want to make sure that you're like recognizing those differences and praising them for it, even if it's just a really small, you know, upgrade or not upgrade. What's the word that I'm looking for?
Try. The smallest
Yeah.
try.
A small progression.
Yeah.
A small
Progress.
positive.
The progress.
That's what we're looking
Any
for.
positive progression that's
Yeah,
made with the
you
horse,
want to
you'll
make
like
sure
one
that
reward.
you want to make sure that you're acknowledging that, because if your horse doesn't know that what they did was good, they're not going to know if you don't tell them. So you have to make sure that you're telling them. I'm going to show you one time, and I really want you to focus on what she does coming out of her first barrel. So I'm going to show you, and then I'll explain. So see how she's already kind of being stupid? She's acting like a hothead. It's not like she's being crazy, but she knows what she's doing. This is the stuff that gets irritating when you're riding them, because it is not her job to work the pattern. It is my job to tell her what she's doing on the pattern. So if she just decides that she's going to do whatever the hell she wants, it's probably not going to go great. Okay? She has a mind of her own, and I obviously have a mind of my own. But this is where it gets difficult, is you have to come to a mutual agreement with these animals that they need to listen to what you're asking them, not what they want to do. So watch our first barrel closely. And of course, that time she doesn't do it. So when she was coming out of her first barrel, she was trying to like dive down real deep coming out of it, which is a good thing, but it's, see right there, she keeps dropping her shoulder down, and she's anticipating to go to the next barrel. So see right there how she wanted to drop it down, which yes, is a good thing, but the bad thing is I'm not asking her to do it yet. She needs to wait for my cue to tell her right there when to do it. Good girl. So horses, they're creatures of habit. So the more and more that you do things, the more and more that they are going to recognize those things. And if you are not correcting bad habits, then it's gonna keep coming up. And it might only happen one time.
Yeah.
But if you don't go back and correct it, that's gonna progress into something bigger. Like that could lead into you knocking over that barrel. And you don't want to knock over barrels.
It creates a bad habit.
Yeah.
Yes. Fun to just throw music on stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just to show that I'm not just doing this once or twice, you need to chill.
Because
See how she starts getting all like.
well, and that's another.
So this is, you see how she's kind of biting at the bit here and she's being pretty anxious. So if she starts acting like this and she like really wants to work, it's a good thing, but she needs to chill. So I will literally make her sit here for like 10 minutes just to calm down. If you have a horse that anticipates a lot, I have a great drill that we will go over that in a different video. So make sure that you watch that drill. Or that video, whatever, same thing. So I will have that up shortly also. She's kind of calmed down a little bit, but we've worked a little bit now. I brought her around the barrels a few times, trotting, I did like a few loping things, but you don't have to worry about that yet. So the biggest thing is sometimes they get really excited when they have a job that they have, which is a really good thing because you want them to enjoy their job. I would much rather have a horse that gets excited to work and you just got to work them a little harder versus a horse that has no interest whatsoever in doing anything, because that can almost be more frustrating than having a horse that you just need to be like, all right, I love your vibe right now, but you got to dial it down just like a little bit. So if your horse does get a little hot-headed at all, then the best thing to do is to probably just work them around a little bit, not run them into the ground. Now there is a difference in running your horse into the ground and working your horse and getting your horse to focus on you as the rider. So what I would like to do if my horse wasn't focusing on me and she just wanted to, you know, start being antsy, and it could be something so similar or something so small where she's just kind of like prancing around a little bit and kind of trying to move around. And it's not like anything crazy. It's not like she's bucking or rearing or like seriously dancing. But what I'll do in that situation is I will just work her around. I might yield her hindquarters, yield her shoulders, make her side pass, move her hip around, you know, do some leg yields, or maybe even lope a couple circles, or do some rollbacks, or something that is getting the horse to focus on you as the rider. That way they know that you, like as in me, are still in control of them, and they need to listen to you, not do whatever they want to do just because they're excited. When I say you don't want to run your horse into the ground, I mean, don't just think because, so there are hot-headed horses and then horses that are a little more on the chill side. But sometimes the horses on the chill side might get a little extra energy one day, and you might just be able to like lope them a few extra circles and then they're fine. Now, if you take a hot-headed horse and you just decide, oh, we're just gonna, you know, lope a few extra circles, chances are, with you trying to run them and run them and run them and run them and run them, all it's doing is just making their mind like shake even more. It's gonna want to explode because it's being counterproductive. You're literally telling them that you don't want them to run and you don't want them to be crazy, but you're literally gonna run them around and be crazy. Like that, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't work that way. So the best thing to do, in my opinion, is to just get your horse to do stuff that makes them focus on you as the rider. Okay, so thank you for watching today's video. If you guys liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Make sure that you leave a comment if you have any questions. It would mean a lot if you guys would subscribe to my channel. I really love watching my channel grow. We started, you know, not that long ago, and seeing all of the numbers pile up is kind of rewarding in a way. And I know that you guys are enjoying my videos and it makes me feel good, and I really like making these videos. So thank you guys so much for watching today. I really appreciate you guys watching my videos. And if you guys do take, even if you only learn one thing from today, it means a lot to me because I love to teach people. I love to make sure that people are learning stuff, and especially things that might be helpful for you. So if you guys have any comments or questions, leave them in the comments down below. And if you want to see more videos or have any ideas on some videos, go ahead and also leave those in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next episode of Behind the Reins.